Mm,
Now, cars that are electric, that's a kind of a different story.
I
So
see.
gasoline is also a fossil fuel.
Hmm.
Um, and that is something we're going to run out of. Gasoline comes from oil that's pumped out of the ground.
Hmm.
And we are literally going to run out of that. Coal, probably not, but we're going to be running out of oil. That's a peak oil scenario. And
Hmm.
so that's the one thing in which car companies have realized that and have moved forward with electric cars. I mean, the explosion of electric cars and even now hydrogen powered cars
Hmm.
is impressive.
Yes,
But that's really because they're trying to meet a future need that's very much our near future. And also, I think consumers can do something about this versus like, are you going to are you going to set up a electricity, electrical power plant? No.
no, definitely not.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that option.
Yes. And most countries don't either.
Mm,
So I think this is an interesting way. It's made definitely people more aware, at least in around where we are, of
mhm.
the options for transportation.
Definitely. As soon as I moved to California, I could 100% tell people's mindset of environment changed. Like back home in my home country, Iran. I we don't really talk about stuff that hurts the environment that much. Like worst case scenario is that they tell us to recycle, and that's about it. They don't, and I don't think they ever taught us how to correctly recycle. Because before going to your class, I just actually that's not true. Before meeting Layal, who was in your class as well, she told me that I'm doing it wrong, and I was just like throwing a glass away. And she was like, "No, no, you're not supposed to throw in that. You're supposed to throw in this. It's supposed to be clean. It's not supposed to be any like soda on it or whatever." And then I was like, "Oh, really? That like actually like helps with it. And if there's anything wrong with the recycling, the whole process stops. So that's a whole other products that could have been recycled, just trash." So it was very eye opening when I moved here. And uh, that's the thing though. I do think that it's something that's very important. Like obviously, this is our planet. We want to live on it. We want to have healthy lives. Uh, the thing is though, where do you draw the line between people living and people living in a world where living would be difficult? Like if we give up things like fossil fuel, a lot of stuff is going to automatically become way more difficult than it already is.
Yes.
Where do you draw that line between comfort and just plain surviving?
Right. No, and that's a good question. And the it's something that I think changed what I realized people are capable of in the past year.
Mm,
Um, I mean, the total lockdown and, so and so couldn't go to Fiji last summer. Um, or,
right.
couldn't go out to eat in the month
Wow.
of December, right? And
How
so
horrible.
yes, exactly. So I do think there is a what weighing against what individuals need versus the collective good.
Mm,
It's not is it sustainable for the long term? No, we can see already that people were tired of the quarantine months and months ago, but people did do it
change.
for collective good, and I
Mm,
was amazed that that was possible. The whole world,
mm,
literally. And when this was initially rolled out, it was like, do it for grandma, do it for grandpa. It was, people are kind of afraid of dying themselves. That's probably a bigger part of
just a
it,
little bit.
but it really was like in the back of your mind, you kind of knew that the numbers were like, okay, it's older people.
Mm,
So
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
that's why, like obviously I care about other people and or my community and where I live, but you're completely right. The most important thing to me wasn't my own safety, because I was like, I'm probably safe. I'm a healthy teenager. I eat good. I try to stay active. I feel like I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna be a little iffy, but I'm gonna be good.
Hmm.
Uh, but for my parents, no, 100%. I was like, I cannot bear to see my dad go through what my friend's dad was going through, when he caught COVID. Like
Mhm.
just feeding him like Tylenol just to like not burn up and all that stuff. It's horrible. Um, but I feel like my main point is you're completely right. We should make adjustments, and we're capable of adjustments. But at one point, it's not an adjustment anymore. It's not worth adjusting to. Do you see that scenario? Do you see a scenario where it's not worth it anymore because it doesn't feel like people are living?
Um, I guess the thing is what's the definition of living, right? Because
Mm,
the it's instead of thinking about what you're doing for your your family, this
hmm
is really what you're doing for future generations. It's harder to picture,
hmm
but it's still the same idea, is that
hmm
what we the output now of carbon dioxide is just going to keep increasing. It's going to affect things 50 years down the line, 100 years down the line.
hmm
And so if it takes some small sacrifices now,
I
which
see.
really, honestly, when I think about lives changing, I do think that it will change a lot in 20, 100 years.
hmm
And if we can do something about it now,
hmm
uh,
That'll be the best.
I do think, yeah.